Politics is an interesting niche that is pegged on chances and choices. And so politicians must always take their chances. So William Ruto has been trying his chance to plank a chunk of the vote from the larger Ukambani region. The three counties of the Makueni, Kitui, and Machakos have a whopping 1.5 million. Raila Odinga have already got the support of the three governors, Charity Ngilu, Kivutha Kibwana, and Machakos Governor, Alfred Mutua, while Kalonzo Musyoka is also sitting at the fence with a 70% probability of joining Raila Odinga. This is a region that have been supporting Raila Odinga for the last two general elections, except in 2007, when Kalonzo Musyoka was in the presidential race. So guys, I think in Ukambani is where William Ruto has the biggest setback. Not even in Nyanza. In Ukambani, he doesn't really have a chance. The appointment that people that he's actually working on to make sure that they can bring the votes from Ukambani is the UDA chairman, Johnston Muthama, who is coming from Machakos and does not wield much of the influence. Then the deputy governor of Makueni, who also met William Ruto at current residence, I think some 2 weeks ago. But then she seems not to be very convincing enough. Then in Kitui, William Ruto is having the former Nairobi deputy governor. Remember the first governor, Kidero. Kidero's deputy, Mweke, who is now his point man from Kitui. Now, he's depending on Mweke to bring the votes against Charity Ngilu. Now, in this video, I want us to look at something very critical that informs me that William Ruto will stop campaigning in Ukambani. I want you to listen to this video clip here. It's a very interesting clip of an elected MCA from Zombe in Kitui telling William Ruto directly on unmet pledges that he gave in his previous tour. And I want you to listen to it here. So if you listen to that clip, the few deductions that personally I can draw from just whatever I'm seeing, if you look at what the lady is saying, you listen to what the lady is saying, and you also look at the reaction on the ground. Then ultimately, William Ruto had to snatch the microphone from her. So first, how did it reach to a point where a leader who is using the microphone that belongs to UDA have the audacity to lecture him on that? To what extent? Because once, before people go to rallies, there's normally the session where the politicians sit down and they organize Speaker A, Leader A, you're going to talk about this, Leader B is going to talk about this, Leader C is going to talk about this. In any case, this happened, then this lady just broke out of that arrangement. That could be number one. Secondly, if this lady was here and she came out to mention that she's part of an Azimio, what does this mean? That maybe within UDA, it is high time for William Ruto to do some register checks because there are moles within the UDA party. And I want to believe it is not just at that level, leadership level, but it might also be even at the UDA headquarters. You remember we once did a story where President Uhuru Kenyatta had planted some moles within UDA and they were leaking some information from UDA to the competitors. And of course, in politics, that is normally allowed. Now, that is number one. That lady could be an Azimio mole there. Secondly, there is some genuity in what she's saying. Because from what I understand, the way she's talking like someone who had met those groups and she's so sure that they did not receive the money. And so that is something that is coming out. Because if she could be lying, then just by the time she's talking, someone would have interrupted and said, no, 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 no. The people who are heckling her down were not heckling her because she was saying a lie, but I think they were feeling like she's embarrassing deputy president. That's my analysis on that. But then, the larger indication there is that the ground is anti-UDA. And I think it's more of an Azimio. Especially the fact that it is Kitui and Charity Ngilu have come out to oppose William Ruto agenda in Kitui. That is it. William Ruto needs to think, because the reason why this needs to be a worry is because the last time he was supposed to have a rally, I think, in a church environment in Makueni, the church members skipped that event. And I think I did analyze that video here. The church members skipped that event, and we advanced theories that perhaps the money did not exchange hands, one. Two, maybe there were some other powers that subdued on the members, and that is it. So they even delayed, and the church members had to go and pick students to come and fill there so that William Ruto could get the numbers to address. Then he had just to leave and go to do roadside rallies. So that is something that happened. Now, guys, in my video, I want to give it an wholesome approach. Why I think William Ruto will stop campaigning from Ukambani. Before we look at that, deeply on that, if you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed, I think kindly subscribe and also click the notification bell so that when we publish a video, you'll be notified. Number one reason why his campaigns in Ukambani are not doing him any favor, and he might just have to slow down on it, is because of unmet pledges. Now, this unmet pledges is what other people have called the politics of tokenism. There are only two probabilities. Maybe he's giving the promises by the roadside, and I am on record saying in this channel that William Ruto will be the deputy president will be someone who will be doing a lot of roadside policies. Then he goes back to the office and starts now thinking, what I was promising, can I achieve it? So he first maybe promised, and just promised for the sake of doing excitement. Or someone had already mentioned to him that, oh, this group here needs some money and all this. And he could not, or rather financially, he could not still redeem it. Two, there is a possibility that the leaders from Ukambani are sabotaging him. Yes. The leadership that he's actually depending on to connect to the people in Ukambani are sabotaging him. And that is why I think that is something you cannot undo. Because you might ask, why do you think they're sabotaging him? Because if he had paid this youth group, this Mamambogas, this money, it would have reached there. So if he gave them, and actually he mentioned later on, told them that let them talk with the leaders so that the matter can be addressed. And the reason I'm saying these are probabilities because even I think in Githurai, there was such a case where he promised and it had not been given and they had now to give money. These people might be sabotaging him on ground because the ground does not accept him. So he better face that reality. That is point number one. Point number two is that Ukambani have pronounced themselves to be fully behind Azimio. And the reason why I think William Ruto should not waste a lot of his resources and a lot of his time there is because in the event, like if you look at these three governors, they have already joined Azimio. The Kalonzo Musyoka will largely is almost one step towards Azimio la Umoja. What that means is that that ground will shift to Raila Odinga. And it will be a Raila Odinga, it will actually turn to be a Raila Odinga bedroom. So the same way he is spending less time in Nyanza, he should also spend less time there. Because there is no way, that's why I say the policy is about chances and choices. If your chances are slim there, then why do you take all your time there? That is one thing. Because the ground is a bit hostile for the UDA team. And that is something that is working against him. My other reason is, the reason why that place is not more receptive and he might really think otherwise is, he doesn't have popular aspirants through the UDA ticket. Tell me, in Machakos, I think that's where he has a bit of a formidable candidate for the governor's seat, that is Johnston Muthama. Tell me, in Kitui, does he have a popular candidate for even governor or senator? In Machakos, the same. In Makueni, the same. He doesn't seem to have leaders that he can entrust. And that is why he is going to find it very difficult to campaign in that area. It will be easy for him to do market, the centers, roadside, but to do a very structured campaign, like he can even go to a stadium. Of course, people will come. He's the deputy president, and the people want to see him. They will come. But for him to do a very good structured campaign, even do a consultative forum for the Ukambani region, it is going to be difficult because he doesn't have foot soldiers on ground. Now, what is helping politicians, if you know that you don't have a base in some other place, you need to get people who want to vote in UDA through UDA in those areas, and they're popular candidates. Then these candidates are the ones that will call you so that you can come and campaign for them. But with this deficit of candidates that want to vote through UDA, I think his upper belly, he's going to lack entry points. Another issue that I think points out, and I listened to his rally where he mentioned about road construction, about the electricity or more. For him to campaign in Ukambani, and you know William Ruto's script he has mentioned the two things. They have a party, they have a party, they have a plan, they have the agenda, and they have a track record. Now, the Ukambani track record specifically belongs to the national government. It's the national government that constructed the roads there. If he cannot talk about the dams, he cannot talk about projects that have been done by the county. You know, like unlike in other areas, like in Central or Rift Valley, he can easily ride on a project of a governor, a project of an MP, a project of the national government there. But then in Ukambani, he cannot ride on the projects of the governors. And although the governors from Ukambani have really delivered, especially Makwini have been best in health, Machakos have done bit of the infrastructure, you know, the People's Park and the other stadium. Kitui is doing well in manufacturing. Kitui has a plant in manufacturing. Remember the maize plant, the flour that is being produced from Kitui, and they've done well. He cannot ride on these projects. So in Ukambani, he's going to depending on government projects. Now, this exclusivity on depending on government projects is going to work against him. Because again, he's not like, if he comes and says the government has done this, then the next day, Kalonzo Musyoka and Raila Odinga goes and says the government has done this. Who do you think will be trusted? The people tend to buy what Kalonzo team are saying other than him, because he's been part of that government. Many people want to associate him in Ukambani with the failures that have been seen in that area. So, guys, in my own understanding, I think that exactly does not work. The reason why it does not work with Ruto in Ukambani is also his past. I think his past altercation with Kalonzo Musyoka. What he has done, you know, the last time he was in Machakos, he once mentioned that Kalonzo Musyoka sijui amefuata Raila mpaka sijui ajamea nywele. You understand that? So, and it was interpreted, some people understood it as a bit of an indiscipline or disrespect to Kalonzo. And Kalonzo is still the kingpin there. So, the fact that he is not in good books with Kalonzo, and also another point is he snatched Mudavadi from OKA and left Kalonzo alone. So, when he goes with Mudavadi, actually, people don't see them. People see them as people who betrayed, because Ukambani vote was very sure Kalonzo was going to be flag bearer in Oka. So when Mudavadi left Oka and joined William Ruto, then William Ruto carries Mudavadi to go with him in Ukambani, they don't buy it. They feel like the person who has made Kalonzo not to be a presidential candidate is William Ruto. So the matrix of Oka, how William Ruto withdrew Mudavadi from Oka, and Oka was the hope for Kalonzo to be a presidential candidate, something is not working out there. So guys, that's my analysis, but I think there is more than what catches the eye. What do you think he can do to change the tide in Ukambani? But in my own perspective, he should just reduce his time there.